Most people believe tarot begins when the cards are shuffled, but the symbols existed long before paper, long before ink, long before velvet cloths and candlelit tables. The archetypes were already moving through the world. The fool wandered through reckless decisions and strange opportunities. The tower cracked through sudden collapse and electrical failure. The high priestess whispered through intuition, static, silence, and dreams. The cards did not create these energies. They simply gave them names. And once you understand that, you begin to notice something unsettling. The modern world behaves like a living deck. A flickering streetlight outside an important conversation. A spiderweb stretched perfectly across a doorway moments before a major decision. 3 crows circling the same intersection day after day. A repeating number appearing on receipts, license plates, timestamps, apartment doors. Most people dismiss these moments as coincidence, but ancient systems of divination were never about escaping reality. They were about learning how to read it. Every culture developed symbolic languages to interpret invisible currents moving beneath ordinary life. Smoke, bones, stars, tea leaves, bird flight, tarot. Not because humanity was primitive, but because human beings understood something modern culture has almost erased. The environment responds to consciousness. Not always literally, not always supernaturally, but symbolically, psychologically, energetically, archetypally. The outer world has always mirrored the inner one, and in 2026, surrounded by artificial light, digital noise, surveillance systems, fractured attention spans, and endless distraction, intuition has adapted. The symbols did not disappear. They evolved. The city itself became the oracle. The streets became the spread. And every day people walk through messages they were never taught how to interpret. But not every strange occurrence is meaningful. Not every dead streetlight is a cosmic warning. Not every bird overhead carries prophetic significance. To separate random noise from symbolic signal, you need 3 things: repetition, emotional interruption, and impossible timing. A true omen repeats in unusual ways. It disrupts your internal state. And it arrives directly beside a thought, decision, fear, or transition already unfolding beneath the surface. That is when coincidence begins behaving like communication. Carl Jung called this synchronicity. Ancient mystics called it correspondence. Some traditions called it divine patterning. Different names for the same phenomenon, the strange moment when inner reality and outer reality briefly mirror each other. And once you begin recognizing the pattern, you cannot fully unsee it. Take spider webs. Most people barely notice them. But throughout ancient symbolism, the web represented interconnected fate, architecture, destiny, and hidden intelligence. A web is both fragile and impossibly precise, a geometric trap built from tension itself, and in modern cities, webs often appear in transitional places: doorways, train stations, parking structures, stairwells, bridges, threshold spaces, places between one state and another. In tarot language, this resembles the Hierophant, the architect of systems, rituals, social structures, and invisible frameworks governing human behavior. A perfectly intact web may symbolize stability within your current structure, routine, order, connection. But a damaged web being actively rebuilt carries a different energy entirely. The system is under stress. Something in your social architecture is changing. A friendship, a belief, a role you occupy, a cycle you continue maintaining long after its expiration date. The web becomes a real-time diagram of energetic maintenance. And once you begin noticing symbolic geometry in nature, you start noticing symbolic disturbances in technology, especially light. Streetlights are fascinating because human beings instinctively associate illumination with awareness. Ancient mystics worked with candles and fire. Modern civilization replaced flame with electricity. But the symbolism survived the transition. A flickering light interrupts attention. It creates uncertainty between visibility and obscurity, presence and absence, signal and static. Very similar to the High Priestess, the archetype guarding hidden knowledge, subconscious awareness, and unseen information waiting beneath ordinary perception. Have you ever noticed how certain lights seem to flicker specifically when you approach them? Some people call it coincidence, others call it electrical sensitivity, but symbolically, it represents interruption. A brief instability in the normal flow of perception, a pause in the illusion of certainty, the environment forcing awareness into the present moment, especially if it happens during periods of emotional confusion, burnout, indecision, or transition. The city blinking like an exhausted mechanical oracle. And then there are the birds, perhaps the oldest messengers humanity ever studied. Long before tarot decks existed, civilizations watched flight patterns to interpret change. Crows, ravens, pigeons, hawks. Movement across the sky became symbolic language, because birds exist between worlds, earth and air, grounded and elevated, visible and unreachable, and unlike human beings, they move collectively through invisible currents. Watch a flock carefully enough, and it almost resembles thought itself. In tarot, this energy closely mirrors the wheel of fortune. Cycles, movement, shifting trajectories. The invisible turning of events before physical manifestation catches up. Low circling birds often appear during energetic stagnation, compressed movement, social tension, emotional heaviness, but sudden directional movement upward can symbolize transition, expansion, or destabilization before change, especially if these patterns repeat near specific locations tied to work, relationships, or major decisions. Again, not because birds are magically controlling destiny, but because human consciousness naturally maps meaning onto movement. The archetype activates through observation, and eventually the symbols begin overlapping. A flickering light, a damaged web, birds changing direction overhead, a repeating number, an overheard sentence arriving at the exact right moment. Separate fragments, but together, a spread. A living tarot reading assembled by the environment itself. And this is where most people disconnect from intuition. They wait for certainty. But symbolic language has never functioned through certainty. It functions through resonance, a strange internal recognition, the feeling that reality briefly leaned closer than usual, that something beneath the visible surface attempted communication through pattern, timing, and interruption, not to control you, not to predict your future with mechanical precision, but to sharpen awareness, to interrupt unconscious momentum, to force observation, because once you begin reading the symbolic architecture around you, the world stops feeling random, and you stop walking through it asleep.